Have you ever had one of those instances where the timing just worked out perfectly? Well, I had that instance about a month and a half, almost 2 months ago. At the end of September, early October, we got rocked by Hurricane Helene. And I live in Augusta, Georgia, and the CSRA and this, particular swath up into western North Carolina, eastern Tennessee, we all got hit especially hard. And it was a case of nobody was prepared for the level of destruction that we had. But thanks to a chance email a couple weeks before, when we lost power, when we lost all our utilities, we were able to take solace in knowing that we had a couple devices around the house that helped us get through. And the company that reached out to me was ALLPOWERS, and they wanted to send me their S300 portable power station. And it's a really handy device, and I never could have imagined that this little guy would come in so handy so quickly, because when I was agreeing to do this test review for them, I was like, what am I going to do with this? So I was like, well, I don't have a trip to the Okefenokee Swamp or Jackson planned. So I was like, well, what am I going to do? And then Helene hit, and I was able to use this to keep us up and running in the house. Obviously, I didn't power anything in the house, but I kept our cell phones up and running. A lot of good it did for me, thanks to Verizon, but my wife's phone, being on AT&T, it helped that. I was able to charge some other devices, particularly to keep the kid, my daughter, engaged and happy while we were dealing with no AC. We were dealing with no power, so she could watch Bluey and some of the other characters. But the big thing for me was I was able to use this to charge the batteries for the Sawzall and the other electrical devices that I was using until I could get my hands on a true chainsaw, before I could get my hands on a generator, things like that, because the roadways were terrible. I had to go out a couple times to do some things, and I wanted to minimize that. But I was able to hook up, I think I had two. Yeah, I had two of the charging stations for charging the batteries going at all times. And there's a little trick to this one that I'll tell you about in a minute, and that's what really kept us going in that time when we had no power. So that's enough of me rambling. Let's get a little bit more into what this device is. So again, this is the S300 by ALLPOWERS. It is a portable power station, and it has two tricks that I think you're really gonna like. We'll get to one in just a second, and then I'll hold the other one until the end. Now, before we go any further, I will say that I did not pay the anywhere between $220 and $360 that this power station runs. ALLPOWERS did send it to me for this review, but I just want to put that out there so that you know that I didn't spend my money, but I will say after using it, I absolutely would. So let's get a little bit more into the actual station itself. Again, I know that these are a dime a dozen. It seems like, you've got Blue Eddy, you've got all these other companies making their own portable power stations. But in regards to this one, it has a 78,000 milliamp lithium battery, and it can actually charge 10 devices at one time. Obviously on the front, you have your two AC outlets up here at the top. Then on the side, you actually have a USB-C, 3 USB-As, 2 DC of those little ports right there. And then on the side here, you have a cigarette lighter, 12 volt DC as well. But you may be saying to yourself, that's only 9. Well, the first trick that I mentioned is right here on top. It has built-in wireless charging. So our mobile devices, earbuds, all those things that can charge wirelessly, you can plop it here on top and it will charge. Now, obviously you don't want to actually be charging 10 devices at one time because you will suck the battery so dry so quickly, but it's nice to know that you have those essentially 6 different ways between USB-A, USB-C, DC output little, DC output big, those and that. Yep, you have 6 different ways that you can charge devices, and up to 10 ports. I will say that even though it has AC outlets here, there is a limit to what it can charge. One example is we try to use the coffee pot, and my Mr. Coffee coffee pot pulls just a little too much juice that this thing it couldn't handle it. And so you got to be selective on what you're going to use. Some devices are better than others, but obviously for the size of it, it's not going to handle the big things, but it did just fine for charging batteries and for charging a couple mobile devices. Something else that really came in handy on this is right here on the front, 2 LED headlights, nice and bright, and it's just these little orange buttons right here. You just quick press and they turn on, quick press and they turn off. And that came in really handy. Obviously that drains your battery a little bit. And also on the front there, you can kind of see it is a really nice little LCD screen that shows you how many hours you have of charge left right there. Shows you the percentage of battery, and then it also shows your wattage output. Also on the front there are 3 buttons right here. There is actually, this little button here is for a wireless Bluetooth. You can use the ALLPOWERS app to monitor and turn different ports on and off. I will say that my attempts have been a little buggy with that, and it's still in Chinese, a lot of the things. So a little problematic, but hopefully they can get that figured out. But then you also have turning the DC ports on and the AC ports on. And that's something that I like about this. They're not just always on. You actually have to turn them on. You have to, and you can actually select where you're drawing your power from. If you say, okay, I'm just going to leave things in. All right, let's turn these on for now. Let's turn those off. I really like that. Also has a little handle right there, a little handy handle. Has a little bit of rubber at the top. So that's everything on this device. It does come with a little charging cord and a very nice little pouch. I gotta say, they thought of a lot of different things with this. But anyways, you have your typical charger here with this really nice carry case. But now for the part that I think you're really gonna like. This is the surprise that I was mentioning that I was holding till the very end. And it's this right here. This is a solar panel. Look at that. I love this. On the back, I will say right here and here, you have some legs to where when the solar panel is deployed, you can have it set up and you can aim it at the sun to get it every right. But I was able to have this out plugged in and I was able to charge phones. I charged, like I said, the batteries for the Sawzall and everything. And it was just super nice. I will say we had enough sun to where, and I was charging just enough to where the battery was still charging, like it was still starting to get its storage up enough that it kept ahead of what I was charging. So I wasn't like draining the battery and on completely zero and just doing that way. It was slowly gathering its own battery backup up while charging all these devices. It was really good. But on this right here is another little pouch, and it's actually weather protected, you can see. But this is where your different devices, your different ways of plugging into the battery backup are. There's this style cord here, then you've got this one here. Got all kinds of other little attachments there to add in if you need it, instructions and everything. I was primarily using, where are you at? There you are. I was using the little DC right there. That's what I was using to charge the battery backup while doing everything. But again, it just goes right into this weather resistant pouch, zips up, and then little handle. So again, that is the S300 portable power station by ALLPOWERS. This is a great little device. It came in so handy when Helene hit, and unfortunately, I'm going to make sure that it is fully powered in case we get an ice storm or something else happens. But it is definitely a case of it's better to be prepared and not need it than be in the case where so many of us were after Helene. And I just can't say how great this was. Again, thank you ALLPOWERS for sending this to me. It really did come in clutch. I wasn't expecting that so quickly, but I enjoyed it. And again, I know that there are so many different brands, so many different versions of these out there. This is just the one that got sent to me, and I really enjoyed using it. It's on sale right now for about $220. Normally they're $360 from what I'm seeing on their website. So if you are in the market for one of these, honestly, now is the time. Whether it's this one, whether it's a Bluetti, whether it's one of the other power stations that are out there, it's probably best to just go ahead and do it. Take it from the experience of those of us in the CSRA up into Western North Carolina it's best to be prepared, not be sitting there going, man, I wish I had bought that. Anyways, that's it for me this week. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you found it informative. If you did, please consider hitting that like button. If you don't already, please subscribe, and I will catch you in another video.